Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am Miles McKay. I am the presiding master for the next 30 minutes or so of King Hiram's Lodge. And I would like to welcome you all this afternoon to our 224th installation of officers. King Hiram's for years has been an integral part of Provincetown. We were chartered in 1795 by the most worshipful Grand Master of Masons in Massachusetts, Paul Revere. Which means that Paul Revere had to sign the charter for this body to become a legitimate Masonic organization. And that charter actually hangs on the back wall. That is the original charter. Since 1795, we have never missed a regular meeting. During the War of 1812, when we were occupied by the British as the naval base to attack Boston, the churches left, the town government left, the Mason stayed. So our next regular communication, which will be this month, the second Monday in September, is our 2,173rd meeting in a row. There is no one in Provincetown older than we. In Masonry, you're taught all the time, or you're told all the time, incorrectly, that we are a secret society. We are not. We are a society with secrets, which there's a big difference. And there are basically three different rituals that we will let you see. One is a public installation of officers. One is a Masonic funeral. If you've never seen one, they're quite lovely. And the third is the laying of a cornerstone. So you have the opportunity today to see the installation of officers. If you have questions afterwards, and we'll give you more little historical facts about King Hiram's as we go along today. So, with that, we'll get started. Brother Marshall, you will retire
By the right, quick march!
Brethren and guests all, what indeed a pleasure, privilege, and excitement to be here in King Hiram's Lodge this afternoon, coming across the bay. It was lovely. It was this way instead of this way. before we get going tonight, I'd like to say, first of all, to the ladies, how lovely you all look. And it's a pleasure. I know your husbands have already told me this, and somebody said it to you, but you really look lovely today. And you that added rose upon the altar. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. And we will, let's see, Brother Logan, Jim Logan, would you please give a wee bit of history about the Kilwinning Club itself?
Yes, sir. I'll be pleased to. In December of the year 1924, at a Masonic Lodge in Watertown, Massachusetts, a certain Brother Smith, who was a Scottish immigrant and a fellow craft, was scheduled to be raised to the sublime degree of Master Mason, the third degree. So a few months before, when some of his Scottish brethren knew this, and it was scheduled, they decided it would be a grand idea if they could put together a team made up of Scottish Masons and do the third degree on this brother. And so they were given permission, and they did that, and it went over so well, and they had so much fun doing it. They decided to petition the Grand Lodge of Massachusetts to become a degree team. So when they got the form, one of the first lines was, what is the name of your degree team? So for a name, they went back to Scotland, in the county of Ayrshire, in the little town of Kilwinning, where resides the Kilwinning Mother Lodge, as we lovingly call it. Now, Lodge Kilwinning had dated back, they met in the Kilwinning Abbey, which was a small stone structure in the 12th century. Not as a Masonic lodge as we know it today, but as a stonemason's guild. The lodge came into being in probably in the 1500s. A man named Shaw wrote out some rules that today would constitute a charter. And so many years later, they started chartering Masonic lodges around the British Isles. And so in the 1600s, the Grand Lodge of England came into being. And they decided they should be the ones to charter. And not only that, but they were going to number all their lodges. Now, Kilwinning Lodge didn't like that because they considered themselves the oldest lodge, not the Grand Lodge. So they continued chartering lodges up until an agreement was reached in the early 1700s that they would no longer charter lodges, but they wouldn't have a number. So today they're known as Mother Lodge Kilwinning Number Nothing. So they wrote and they said, could we please use your name for our degree? And they wrote back and they said, we'd be honored if you would do that under one condition, that the name never be sullied. So about 14 months later in 1926, the Kilwinning Club of Boston was officially recognized by the Grand Lodge of Massachusetts as a degree team to do their ritual. Since that time, we have appeared in over 200 different lodges, some lodges many times. All the New England states, Rhode Island, Canada, and have taken about 3 trips over the years back to the Mother Lodge to exemplify our work. Sometime over the years, we branched off from doing strictly third degrees to also doing installations, which we're doing today. And for some of you non-Masons, some of the verbiage that you hear today dates back to 300 years, it's still used. Now, membership in the club today is open to any Freemason in good standing who can prove that at least back to one great-grandparent was born in Scotland. And we do get many members of the club from meetings like this. So if anyone is interested, speak to one of us after. Thank you, Worship. That's the history.
Thank you. What an eventful day to start it out. It's coming up these stairs. Charlie, you all right?
Fine.
All right. Then we'll proceed. Worshipful Master, Can I have the report on the qualifications of the master-elect?
We have, the master-elect is duly qualified and has been found to be a good provider and understanding of the arts of business.
Thank you very much. Brother Marshal, you will present to me the master-elect of King Hiram's Lodge.
Master, I present Brother Daniel David Yatta to be installed as Master of this lodge. He's been found to be of good morals and great skills, true and trusty, and as he is a lover of the whole fraternity wheresoever dispersed upon the face of the earth, we doubt not that he will discharge his duty with fidelity.
Brother Conductor, we'll place our brother at the altar, there to receive the benefit of prayer and take upon himself his official obligation.
God be with our brother as he has took the opportunities and challenges and burdens as master of this lodge. Endow him with the strength and courage needed for this task. Grant him the skills of leadership that he may well exercise the management of this lodge. May he enrich our fraternity through his work. May he have the humility to treat each member as a brother, and may brotherly love, relief, and truth be ever strong within these walls and spread abroad into the community. Amen.
Repeat after me your official obligation. I solemnly promise upon the honor of a Mason
I solemnly promise upon the honor of a Mason
that in the office of Master of King Hiram's Lodge,
that in the office of Master of King Hiram's Lodge,
I will, according to the best of my abilities,
I will, according to the best of my abilities,
strictly comply with the constitutions and regulations
strictly comply with the constitutions and regulations
of the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Massachusetts,
of the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Massachusetts,
the bylaws of King Hiram's Lodge,
the bylaws of King Hiram's Lodge,
and all other ancient Masonic usages,
and all other ancient Masonic usages,
so far as the same may come to my knowledge.
so far as the same may come to my knowledge.
Please be seated. As Brother previously investiture, it is necessary that you should signify your assent to those ancient charges and regulations which point out the duty of a master of a lodge. You agree to be a good man and true and strictly to obey the moral law. You agree to be a peaceable citizen and cheerfully to conform to the laws of the country in which you reside. You promise not to be concerned in plots and conspiracies against government, but patiently to submit to the decisions of the Supreme Legislature. You agree to pay a proper respect to the civil magistrates, to work diligently, live creditably, and act honorably by all men. You agree to hold in veneration the original rulers and patrons of the Order of Masonry and their regular successors, supreme and subordinate according to their stations, and to submit to the awards and resolutions of your brethren when convened in every case consistent with the constitutions of the order. You agree to avoid private piques and quarrels and to guard against intemperance and excess. You agree to be cautious in carriage and behavior, courteous to your brethren, and faithful to your lodge. You promise to respect genuine brethren and to discountenance impostors and all dissenters from the original plan of Masonry. You agree to promote the general good of society, to cultivate the social virtues, and to propagate the knowledge of the arts. You promise to pay homage to the Grand Master for the time being, and to his officers when duly installed, and strictly to conform to every edict of the Grand Lodge or General Assembly of Masons that is not subversive of the principles and groundwork of Masonry. You admit that it is not in the power of any man or body of men to make innovations in the body of Masonry. You promise a regular attendance in the committees and communications of the Grand Lodge and receiving proper notice, and to pay attention to all the duties of Masonry on convenient occasions. You agree that no new lodge shall be formed without permission of the Grand Lodge, and that no countenance may be given to any irregular lodge and to any person clandestinely initiated therein, being contrary to the ancient charges of the order. You admit that no person can be regularly made a Mason in or admitted a member of any regular lodge without previous notice and due inquiry into his character. You agree that no visitor shall be received into your lodge without due examination and producing proper vouchers of the having been initiated in a regular lodge. These are the regulations of free and accepted Masons. Do you submit to these charges and promise to support these regulations as masters have done in all ages before you?
I do.
In consequence of your cheerful conformity with the charges and regulations of the order, you are now to be installed master of this lodge. Your brethren have full confidence in your care, skill, and capacity to govern the same. Masons to fit and adjust the stones of a building that all the parts may properly agree. So you as master of this lodge are admonished by the symbolic meaning of the square upon your breast to preserve that moral deportment among the members of your lodge, which should ever characterize good Masons, and to exert your authority to prevent ill feeling or angry discussions arising to impair the harmony of their meetings. I also present to you the three great lights of Freemasonry, the Holy Bible, square, and compasses. The Bible, the great light of Masonry, will guide you to all truth, will direct your path to the temple of happiness, and point out to you the whole duty of man. The square teaches us to harmonize our conduct by the principles of morality and virtue. The compasses teach us to limit our desires in every station. The rising to events by merit, we then live respected and die regretted. I also present you the rule in line. The rule directs that we should punctually observe our duty, press forward the path of virtue, and inclining neither to right nor to the left, nor all actions have eternity in view. The line teaches us a criterion of moral rectitude, to avoid dissimulation in conversation and action, and to direct our steps to the path which leads to immortality. The Book of Constitutions you are to search at all times. Cause it be read in your lodge, that none may repent ignorance of its requirements. You now receive in charge the charter, by the authority of which this lodge is held. As its lawful custodian, you are carefully to preserve and duly transmit it to your successor in office. You also receive in charge the records and bylaws of your lodge. The records you are to see properly kept, and the bylaws carefully and punctually executed. And placing in your hands this gavel, which is also called the Hiram, because it's solemnly controlled and directed the workmen of the temple by the assistance of Hiram the builder. So does the master preserve order in the lodge by the aid of the gavel. I now conduct you to the Oriental chair, once built by our ancient Grand Master, Hiram King of Fire. And may a due portion of his wisdom descend upon and abide with you. All Master Masons, please rise and salute the worshipful Master with public grand honors, taking a cue from the Marshal. Marshal, you will conduct the wardens